She was thrown into the back of the patrol car, handcuffed and trembling, her heart pounding. But then, she pulled out something no one expected, a federal judge's certificate. The officers froze, their smiles vanishing. What happened next? Let's just say, it'll shock even the toughest. But let's start at the beginning. It was a cold Thursday morning, the kind where the sun's first rays cut through the clouds with a false sense of warmth. Maya Richards, a 26-year-old law student, walked home from the library, her thoughts consumed by case notes and upcoming exams. Her footsteps echoed on the empty sidewalk, and the world felt still, peaceful. But then, without warning, the shrill wail of sirens shattered the calm. The sound sliced through the air, making her flinch. Before she could react, 2 police officers were in front of her, their patrol car screeching to a halt. Their hands were already on their holsters, eyes locked on her like they'd been waiting for this moment. "Hey, you! Stop right there!" one officer barked, his voice harsh and commanding. Maya froze. A chill ran down her spine as confusion took over. "What is this about?" she thought. "I haven't done anything," she said, her voice shaking slightly. "Shut up, girl," the officer sneered, stepping closer. "You're under suspicion." Her mind raced, a dozen thoughts colliding in a chaotic mess. Suspicion of what? But before she could even get the words out, the other officer grabbed her by the arm with brutal force, pulling her toward the car. Maya's heart pounded, every instinct screaming to fight back, but she couldn't move. She barely had time to react before they slammed her against the side of the patrol car, the cold metal pressing against her cheek. Her vision blurred as panic set in. The scent of rubber and exhaust filled her nostrils, and for a split second, she could hardly breathe. This can't be happening. Desperation surged in her chest as she struggled to make sense of the situation, but her mind couldn't keep up with the sudden rush of adrenaline. Everything felt wrong, and yet, nothing made sense. "Why are you doing this?" Maya cried out, her voice trembling as she fought against the officer's unrelenting grip. Every fiber of her being screamed to break free, but their hands were steel, unyielding, unrelenting. "Keep it up, and we'll add resisting arrest to your charges," the officer snarled, his words sharp, biting. He twisted her wrist painfully, his fingers digging deeper, and Maya gasped in agony. Her heart raced, her pulse pounding so loudly in her ears that she could hardly hear anything else. In the blink of an eye, she was shoved into the back seat of the patrol car. The door slammed shut with a finality that made her chest tighten, trapping her inside. Tears blurred her vision, but even through the haze, she saw the cold, cruel disdain in their eyes. They didn't even look at her as a person. Their words, low and venomous, whispered between them like she wasn't even there, like she was just another inconvenience. Her skin, her hair, her presence. Everything about her was scrutinized and dehumanized in their eyes. Maya felt the weight of it all, the crushing weight of their disgust, seeping deep into her bones. It hurt more than the physical pain, more than the bruises they were leaving. The sting of their words, their treatment of her, was a wound she couldn't escape. She had experienced racism before, yes, but never like this. Never so raw, so overt, so violently aggressive. This was different. They didn't just want to humiliate her. They wanted to break her. They reveled in their power over her, their ability to make her feel small, insignificant, less than human. As the car sped toward the station, their muttered insults filled the silence, each word like a slap to her soul. The anger inside her simmered, burning hotter with every passing second. She had never felt such fury, such helpless rage. But somewhere deep inside, she knew one thing for sure. She wouldn't let them win. When the patrol car came to a stop at the station, Maya was yanked out of the back seat with brutal force. She stumbled, her legs unsteady as they dragged her toward the entrance. Her mind spun in disbelief. This can't be happening. I'm a law student. The thought clung to her like a lifeline, a tiny thread of hope amidst the chaos. She wouldn't, let this moment define her. At the booking desk, they tossed her name on the list with mocking ease, still sneering at her like she was nothing. One of the officers laughed, his voice dripping with derision. "This is your first time, right?" he taunted, clearly enjoying the power he had over her. Maya's heart pounded in her chest as she stood there, hands still cuffed behind her back, the weight of their laughter crushing her. She could hear them speaking, the harshness of their words, the insults flying as if she wasn't even a person. They made a game out of her pain, their amusement at her expense, stoking a fire deep inside her. Her mind raced, the humiliation seeping into her veins like poison. She had taken all she could. Her fingers tightened around the straps of her bag, still gripped firmly under her arm. No, she thought, not like this, not today. With a trembling voice but unshaken resolve, she called out, her words cutting through the laughter. "Hey, you want to keep treating me like this?" Her voice wavered, but there was strength in it now, something raw and defiant. "I have something to show you." The officers looked at each other, sneering, clearly amused by her attempt to stand her ground. "What, you think we're scared of you?" one of them sneered. "You don't scare us." Without responding, Maya reached down into her bag, her movements slow but deliberate. She pulled out the one thing they never saw coming, the one thing that could change everything, her federal judge's certificate. The room seemed to freeze for a moment, the laughter dying in their throats as they realized the enormity of the mistake they'd just made. The room fell silent. The officers, once so confident in their cruelty, froze, their faces drained of color as they stared at the certificate in Maya's hand. The official seal of the United States District Court glared back at them, like a sharp slap to the face. Maya's hand shook slightly, but it wasn't from fear anymore. It was from the weight of the power she now held. She had all the ammunition she needed, and the fear was gone, replaced by something far more potent: knowledge. "You have no idea who you've been messing with," Maya said, her voice steady and resolute, her previous tremor now replaced with firm command. It was as if the very air had changed, the atmosphere thick with the realization that they had just made a fatal mistake. One officer's face turned an ashen color as it hit him, his jaw clenched, eyes darting to his partner, who stood motionless. Maya wasn't some helpless student they could bully. She was someone who could dismantle their careers with a single word. They were in the presence of someone far beyond their pay grade, someone with the authority they had never imagined they'd face. Within moments, the station erupted into a flurry of movement. The officers were quickly pulled away, their superiors rushing in, their shock morphing into disbelief and anger. Maya was escorted to a private room, the doors closing behind her, and for the first time all day, she was treated with the respect she deserved. Her situation was understood now, and the tables had turned. Sitting in the quiet room, she exhaled deeply, feeling the burden of the day finally lifting. Her fingers, still trembling slightly from the adrenaline, slowly released the certificate. She had done it. The victory wasn't loud or boastful. It was quiet, almost peaceful. The anger that had burned within her all day faded, replaced by a quiet satisfaction. The injustice she had faced was fading, like a shadow in the light of truth.